Hey everyone, in the middle of resizing some 22-250 brass, and I thought, well, we'll just shoot a video real quick on reloading 22-250. So I've already got my die set up in the press. This is on a hunting rifle, so and to ensure reliable feeding, I'm actually bumping my shoulders around 5,000. So that gives plenty of room if there's dirt or grime or anything in the action. Not that there will be, but just in case there is. Plus to ensure reliable feeding, like I said. On my competition guns, I always do around a 2 thou clearance. Of course, you don't really have the elements exposed to there and all the time in the world to, if a cartridge won't chamber, you can do something different versus when you're sitting in a tree or a blind hunting, calling a coyote, you shoot, you go to rack another round, you want to ensure that it actually goes. So this federal brass, it's nickel plated, but we'll see with the comparators, we're at like 1.571 is what that's saying. So I'll get some of this Hornady Unique case lube to put it around the neck, shoulder, and on the first part of the body. Rake a little excess on the mouth. It helps it slide a little easier on the decapping pin. So it deprimes and resizes all at the same time. Wiping the lube off with a rag here. Uh, 1.565. So I'll do one more for you here on camera. Just get some lube on there good. If you over lube it, you'll get hydro dents, so don't over lube it. A little bit goes a long ways, but just make sure that you get it in the important areas. Roll it through here. Like I said, I rake a little excess on there. These will be cleaned after I'm done here. Again, wipe the excess lube off. And we'll check it here again. 1.565. So setting these dies up isn't too bad. Take a Allen wrench on your key here. Always, whenever I run my ram up, run the die down till it touches. And then once it touches, lock it down. I'll make a mark on top of my die, so I have something, a reference to go by. Clockwise is screwing it down, which will give you more bump. Counterclockwise is screwing it out, which will give you less bump. So generally, once you screw it down, it touches. If you'll go about a quarter turn, a half turn, you'll be in the ballpark of where you want. And I know all dies are different. All shell plates, shell holders are different. But a good rule of thumb to start off of, in my opinion, is run down till it touches. And once it touches, do one and see where you're at from pre-shoulder bump to after you resize your case and bump your shoulder back, and then just play with it. And by increments, you can take it down. This is just a RCBS full-length resizing die. I have a better higher end from Cortina Precision. It actually has increments on it. So as you're resizing, you can actually go down in your thou increments to get what you want. But in this case, we don't. This is a hunting rifle. So here we are. I'll be back and I'll show you my next step in this process. Okay, after I have resized all of my pieces of brass, now I'm going to trim, chamfer, deburr, brush out the neck, clean the primer pocket. Set of calipers here because the book always calls for a 10 thou window of a minimum and a max. In this case, It's like 1.902 to 1.912. So take our brass, we'll see where we're at. I'm starting here. This is 1.911 technically by the book. You can still run it. I like to trim all of them so they're all the exact same. So trim. Doesn't take but just a second. Empty out all those clippings. .902. The beauty with this Lyman case trimmer is it has a wheel with 1/1000 increments. You got different bushings. We're using bushing number 8 in here. Whatever, depending on what cartridge you're using, you swap the bushing out. I think it's always a good idea to have one of these, if you load for multiple, have one that's trimmed, ready to go. So whenever you swap around, you put this in, you can spin the little wheel down till it just touches it. Put your first one in, or a little bit more, or another one. Take it just a touch over. That way you can always run it down, because you can always take away, you just can't add back to. So after you trim it, we'll go over here and we will chamfer the inside of the neck. Then we'll deburr the outside. We'll run brush through, and then we'll clean the primer pocket out. And then I just always give a good little visual inspection. Spin the case in my hand, ensuring that there's no cracks or splits or anything on the necks. Got a nice chamfer, and it's deburred. I don't know if this will even be seeable or not. Let's see. Do the right lighting, you can see a little bit of that. There you go. I mean, it does a great job, especially for a hunting round. You can't ask for anything no better. I'll finish doing these, and I'll see you on the next step. Okay, my next step in this process is priming the brass. Today we'll be using the Winchester large rifle primers on the Lee bench primer. So I've got all my cases that are resized, trimmed, chamfered, and deburred. So now I'll just one by one grab my my ready to go piece of brass and have to reload, and then you'll feel it. That's it. Primed. Stick it to the side. Grab my next one. Primed. Ready to go. So I'll do one more on camera. Every time we do that, it resets and puts another one in there. So primed. Okay. I'll do the rest of them off camera, and I'll show you the next step. My next step in this process is to clean the brass. You're probably wondering how come I didn't clean the brass as soon as I resized it before I trimmed, chamfered, deburred, or even primed the cases, and I'll tell you why. I like to clean the brass the final step. So first of all, this brass has already been cleaned once. So as soon as it comes in, it gets cleaned. And then we resize, deprime, resize, trim, chamfer, deburr, and then prime. So when I do another cleaning cycle, because I want to get off every bit of that lube, even though I used a rag as I went to wipe off every bit of it, it's still not the same as running it through a dry media. Also, all those little shavings and stuff that I might not have got off from brushing the neck, whenever I trim, chamfered, and deburred, they'll work themselves off inside here. Additionally, the dust that's from this corncob walnut media serves as a good lube inside this neck whenever I'm seating my bullet. Not only that, if I was to so my hunting cartridges, I deprime, resize all in one step. On my precision rifles, I deprime in a separate step from resizing. So, and because, for one, I mandrel my necks back out. So I take the stem, the decapping stem out of my full-length 3" size dies so that I can mandrel my necks back out to the desired neck tension that I want. And I use a carbide bit, which doesn't require any lube at all. But I have found that the carbon buildup in there is very, very hard. So even though it doesn't require lube, sometimes you will damage a case by there not being some form of lube inside there. That's where this dust comes into play. So if you tumble your brass, this dry media, prior to seating your bullets, prior to running a mandrel through the neck, all of that, you will yield better results in my findings. Yours may not, but mine does. So we'll go ahead and clean this brass, and I'll show you the final step next. See you in a minute. Okay, we're back. We're gonna empty our tumbler media. I've just got a Lyman strainer and an old mop bucket. Is all I use. And this is how I do it. They make tumbling baskets and other ways to separate the media from the brass, but this is just my preferred method. It's easy, cheap. Now this tumbled for, I don't know, probably 3 hours or so. Something like that. Now what I do is I just, 2 at a time, I pick up 2 pieces of brass, the mouth end down, neck end down, whatever you want to call it. Just slightly tap them until I don't see anything else coming out, and then place them in. So, you'll see the media whenever it quits coming out. So I'll do the rest of these off camera, and we'll be back at the next step. Okay, our next step in this process is to drop our powder and then seat our bullet. For this particular load, we're going to be using these 55 grain spire points with cantilever on them. That's just an indention on the projectile that people use for crimping. I won't be crimping these. I mean, they'll be in a bolt gun, and there's no need. You see that that mark on them there. Good indicator for where to seat your bullet as well. I'm just going to seat these to a semi-spec, what the book calls for, and that is actually the cartridge overall length is 2.350 is what the book says. I'm going to be using H380 powder for safety reasons. I'm not going to disclose what powder charge I'm using. It's best to do your own, work your load up, find a safe spot. Look in the book. The book will tell you a min and a max for your powder, so stay within that reason. I'll show you how we will set one up. I'm going to go ahead and throw our first charge, and I'll set the bullet seater up, and we'll go from there because this hasn't been adjusted yet. So it's good that we can do that on camera. So one thing I really like about the H380 is it's a ball powder, so it meters really, really well. So do that. I like to throw a few charges to make sure that we're doing the right one. It's been plugged up, because it's electronic. The little green machine over here, this little RBS powder thrower, it's a dandy, but it's been on for over 24 hours. So all the electronics is warm, but I like to throw a few to make sure that we're where we need to be. And we'll go here, put it on automatic. So we got our first one up, got our funnel. Beeps, lets you know once it does that. Keeps a count, and it'll tell you if you're over or under, whatever. So we'll take our powder, make sure that we're all the way on the funnel of the case of the mouth, the mouth of the case, and then we will put the powder in, making sure all goes in. Set this aside, and we will, another one will go right in. Yep. Put this back on while we're seating this bullet. That'll be throwing our next charge. So I've already ran the die body down against this, and I backed it off 2 turns and then locked it down. So now we're going to play with the seating stem to get our desired cartridge overall length. So now I've got that placed in. We'll run this up, and then we'll just run this seating stem down by hand. It touches right there. So now I'm going to back this off. And now I'm going to turn this. I thought I had a little flat screwdriver and stood by hand. It has a groove cut in it, so I want to turn it 1 full turn on here. Just run this down to keep it from moving, and we'll see what we got. I know we're a long ways off by how much that's sticking up, so before I even measure, we're going to turn it a couple more. So let's go. See what that does. I felt that move quite a bit. Yeah, we're getting down there to that line. I know we're going to be still off a little ways what we want. Now, cartridge overall length is from the base to tip. I don't do any measuring like that on my precision guns. I go from the ogive. I use a bullet comparator, these little inserts, and that'll do a cartridge over the ogive, the base to ogive, and that's where I find my jam point and my lands and all that. I'm not doing that for this rifle. No way at all. This is a hunting rifle. That's not what we're doing. So I'll zero these out, and we're going to do a cartridge overall length. And this is just going to be a close generic. It's not got to be spot on at all. That's 2.4 on the nose, and we are going to 2.350. So we still need to go another 50 thousandths to be what we want. So I'm going to do this in a half a turn increment here and see what this takes us to. So that's a half of a rotation of the seating stem. We'll see where this goes. So 2.381, no mathematician, but that took us about 19 thousandths, somewhere in the ballpark of that. So we know a half a turn is about 19 to 20, so about 20 thousandths. So if we do another one, that should put us about 10 thousandths off of our desired mark that we're wanting to go to. Let's see what this does. If it trends the same way. Now we're about 15 thousandths off of our desired goal. So I'll loosen this gem nut back up again by hand. I need a little bitty screwdriver is what I need. Right here handy. I thought I had one over here, but I don't. Let's see what that right there does. Still not going to be enough, I don't believe. We'll check it and see. And I will grab a little screwdriver. If not, it's getting a little hard to turn my hand. We're about 8 thou right now, so very minute. I'm going to grab a little bitty small screwdriver and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Got a little bitty small, fine, straight tip screwdriver. So back that nut back off. You put that straight in line with that. Let's see where we're at now. That moved to 2 thou, so we're about 6 thou off from where we need to be. So let's move it about right there. If it goes a little bit shorter, that's perfectly fine. This is just what's saying that the cartridge overall length should be for this, for just a semi run of the mill. They're going to fluctuate because these tips are not uniform. They're not the same. That's why it's best to measure off of the ogive. So this is just a ballpark reference. Now about 3 thou too long. I'm still going to take it on down a little bit more. I'll do that right there. And about 3 thou too short, but it'll be fine, perfectly fine. Yeah, 2.347. So I'm gonna seat another one of these on camera, just so you know. Get our funnel, got our powder charge. It's already thrown, been waiting on us. So we'll go ahead and put all that powder in. That'll be throwing our next charge while we seat our next bullet. That thing's ready to go on the next one. So, let's see what distance says. See there? 2.354. And you can see where it's at on that. And points are all different points. You can see where that one's at on that. That's the difference of where that bullet seeder is making contact. So I am going to leave that where it is. That little bit over is not gonna matter at all, not in the least bit. Go ahead and throw our next one here real quick. It went over. As soon as I brag about ball powder metering well, it throws an overcharge. So while that's throwing our next one, we will wait, be ready to go. There's our beat. And it's on the money. Drop our powder. And we'll seed our next bullet. Same thing, 5.6. So it's a little bit over, but it's not gonna matter. We're in the ballpark. So that's a quick breakdown of how I load 22-250 or any hunting round for that matter. Once you work up a load, it's a pretty simple pattern to follow by. Don't forget to share this video, like, subscribe, and see you next time.